Hey everybody, NakeRVMX here, and welcome back to another video of 10 Pokemon Showdown matches to show you. Let's start it. I don't know quite what this username's all about, but this first battle is against Angelo will fuck Nico. Maybe it's a reference to some show or something. Let's play it. So I got a Go-Goat lead. This is actually a really good Go-Goat. They actually have a Serperior lead, so it's like, okay, it's grass v grass. They went for Leech Seed, which doesn't really work because I have Sap Sipper, so they're going to give me an attack boost, which is great because I started off with Bulk Up. So now my attack is up by two stages, my defense up by one stage. I'd gone for Rock Slide just because I figured it's the only move that I have that's not going to resist. So they swap in Emolga, which is going to swap into the Rock Slide, which would have absolutely annihilated Emolga. Unfortunately, it misses. Like, what is this, Gen 1 accuracy? So they start going for the Air Slash Flinch hacks, and it's working because I get flinched right away. So this thing is really annoying, and I'm actually weak to flying, so I know that my Go-Goat's going to go down unless I can get off a Rock Slide, and then I miss again, so I'm like, this really sucks. So I decide to save the Go-Goat, and I bring in Magearna because it has good defense, and I figure it'll take the Air Slash a lot better than anybody else on my team. So they actually changed to Charge Beam, and they miss, so hey, maybe my luck's finally starting to turn around. I get him with the Ice Beam, and Emolga goes down, and I get a Soul Heart boost, so that's really cool. So in comes Keldeo. I'm kind of wondering what they were thinking here. They went for Secret Sword. Obviously, like I said, Magearna's got good defense. I'd gone for Ice Beam. It resists it. It doesn't do a lot of damage. There's Bixby thinks I'm talking to her. So I swap over to Starmie, and then they swap to Serperior. So I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're just going to continually swap. So Serperior comes into the Psyshock that was meant for Keldeo. So I'm like, okay, well, actually, that wasn't too bad, and the second Psyshock is going to take the Serperior down. So basically, they just sacked off their Serperior for, honestly, I think no reason at all. So in comes Empoleon, and I'm thinking, well, what is this thing going to have? So I went for Thunderbolt. I don't think they realized that I had that. I popped the Air Balloon, did a lot of damage, and got the Paralyzed. So that was a very productive round, and they didn't get to move, which is great. The second Thunderbolt's going to take the Empoleon down, so Starmie is just doing amazing right here. I'm just, really having a lot of luck, and then they go Rage Quitting on me, so go figure, right? Now the sex battle, ooh, that'd be weird. Maybe it's because Angelo will fuck Nico. This next battle is versus Kaikior 90. So Kaikior 90 here sends out Rotom Fan, which I barely ever see in random battles. That's really cool. I have a Bruxish. I know there's an electric type coming, so I decide to swap over to Aegislash. He takes the Thunderbolt. Yeah, not too well, to be honest, but whatever. Pops my balloon, and then they go for Will-O-Wisp and burn me, so I'm like, I could have stayed in. I didn't need to swap, and basically my Aegislash is completely gimped because it is a physical Aegislash. It's burned. I'm trying to get Swords Dances up to counteract the effects of the burn. So, now I'm at basically, it says 3x attack, but basically 2x attack. Unfortunately, I flew too close to the sun on that one, and I got Thunderbolted to death. So I sent in Luxray, and they went for Will-O-Wisp. Thankfully, it missed, because I'm just like, is this thing going to burn my whole team? Crunch does, no damage, but I got rid of the Air Balloon. I actually have a Flame Orb, so it's, it's okay that they didn't burn me. So in comes Cryogonal. I had gone for Facade because the way Facade works is the effect is boosted if you have a status ailment. So basically you give yourself a Toxic Orb or a Flame Orb, you get the burn of the Toxic, and then you start using Facade. So Slowking comes in. I decided to go for Wild Charge on him because I thought he might be able to take a Facade. Slowking can be not bulky, but it has a lot of hit points. So in comes Serperior. Oh, second battle in a row where I see Serperior. Leaf Storm does pretty good damage, and I know Serperior is bulky. I went for Facade anyway. It takes it down to 22% of his health. Less, of course, what the leftovers give him back. So, not too bad. I decided to save him and bring out Blastoise. So, that was a mistake. I don't know what I was thinking that I can Ice Beam it, but unfortunately I swapped into a Leaf Storm, and Blastoise just goes down like a sack of rocks. So, that basically wasted my Blastoise. So, I send in Delcatty. And I get him with the Fake Out just to make him flinch and get a little chip damage. I mean, it has leftovers, so, the 15% damage I did is not much, because they get some of it back. And unfortunately, that Leaf Storm just takes me out, and I'm thinking, what is this thing holding? It's obviously not a life orb. It's got to be a choice item or something. So I send in Glalie, thinking I can Mega Evolve and definitely outspeed it. But I don't outspeed it. They go for Hidden Power. I don't know what Hidden Power it is, but it takes me down to almost nothing. Thankfully, I get that Ice-type return off due to the Refrigerate ability, and finally take that Serperior down. Rotom Fan comes back in. Obviously, it's flying type, so the ice type return isn't going to go well. Mega Glalie is really fast. In comes Mr. Mime. I really hate this thing, not only because it's creepy, but because it's bulky. Return doesn't do it there, and they're going to get me with the Dazzling Gleam. But Glalie basically got me back in the game in this battle. So all I have left is Bruxish and my Luxray, which is on low health. I sent in Bruxish. I know he's going to take a move really badly. The Shadow Ball pretty much decimates him, but the Mr. Mime goes down to his Toxic Orb, the Life Orb. So their last Pokemon is Virizion, which immediately starts setting up, which was probably a bad idea because I just went for Psychic Fangs. That's going to take Virizion down. So, I came back and managed to squeak out a win on that one, mostly thanks to Mega Glalie, one of my favorite ice types. So this one's versus Raphael's Lover. There seems to be a lot of love in the air in Pokemon Showdown in these plays. We got, this one's love, the other one was lust. So anyway, I start off with Entei in this battle, which is a great start off, and they start out with Landorus. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I went for Stone Edge immediately. I knew I wasn't going to survive an Earth Power or an Earthquake, and I was really hoping to just kill it immediately with Stone Edge. Unfortunately, I missed, and down goes Entei. So I sent in Celesteela, because it is flying type, at least. They counter with Xerneas. I'm thinking that's interesting, because they're a Fairy type, and I'm a Steel type. It's really not a good matchup. What can the Xerneas do? All they did was set up Leech Seed. They went for Hidden Power. My guess is Hidden Power Fire. The Heavy Slam does a lot more damage than that. So I'm thinking, are they going to stay in for the second Heavy Slam? Or are they going to swap? We're going to find out how smart this person is. No, they decided to get a little bit of chip damage. I'm thinking, okay, I know what kind of person I'm playing against. I know everything I need to know. The second Heavy Slam is going to take Xerneas down, and I get the Beast Boost. So my special attack is up. So Bannet comes out. I'm thinking, well, this thing's probably going to Mega Evolve, and it does. So Mega Bennet's really interesting. I go in for Protect just to sort of scout out what it plans to do to me, and it looks like they're going for Will-O-Wisp, which is, it's kind of fine because this is a special Celesteela. I really don't care if I get burned. It's a little bit of damage going away each turn. I tried Earthquake. It does nothing. Mega Bandit's very bulky, and that was a physical move, so I don't know what I was thinking there. They went for Knockoff. That's going to get rid of my leftovers, and it actually does pretty good damage. I tried to get Leech Seed on it to get back some health, but it missed. So now I'm like, oh, man, here's the old Necro-VMAX luck here. So they went for another Knockoff, taking me down to chip damage. I got the Leech Seed off, and that's what's going to save me from dying to the burn there. So that was really cool. So I decided to swap into Cacturne, thinking that I can use a Dark-type move to help take this thing out. They immediately knocked off my leftovers, but that's fine because it didn't do a whole lot of damage. Cacturne is part Dark-type. So they go for Will-O-Wisp. Of course, that's not going to work because of the Prankster ability. I get up a Swords Dance. So that was basically a free Swords Dance due to the fact that they went for Will-O-Wisp. So I went for Sucker Punch knowing that they were going to attack there, and that's going to take the Banette down. So in comes Landorus again. I'm weak to flying, but then they double swap over to Mamoswine. I think they realized that it was not going to work. I had gone for Seed Bomb, which was a lucky thing, because that wouldn't have really affected the Landorus all that much, but it just bodies the Mamoswine. Kartana comes in and gets Sucker Punch. Sacred Sword is going to get rid of the Cacturne, but that was just, he did a really good job taking out that Mamoswine. Kartana's got a Beast Boost up already, so I sent in my own Ultra Beast, Pheromosa. They swap over to Liepard. I'm thinking, this thing's going to outspeed me. I decide to U-turn out of there. Thankfully, it didn't outspeed me, so I get a Beast Boost. Unfortunately, I do have to swap now, so I send in Celesteela. So Celesteela's going to go down to the burn on the next turn no matter what, so maybe I can get some damage off. But Landorus comes in. I went for Protect just to sort of just make them waste a turn. Unfortunately, they went for Calm Mind, which basically means I gave them a setup, and all I did was basically sack off the Celesteela. I probably could have hit him and done some damage. So Pheromosa comes in and just bodies Landorus with the Ice Beam. That's no problem. All that's left is Kartana. It is weak to Ice. It's neutral damage because Kartana's part Steel type, but U-turn is going to take him out because Steel does not resist Bug. So that's game. This next battle is versus AVR for Forever. What is this now? AVR Forever a Tiger. Oh, AVR Forever a Tiger. So I start off with Palkia in this one, and they start off with Hitmonlee. So I'm thinking, not the most amazing matchup for me. They decided to go for Knockoff, knocked off my leftovers, and took off a lot of health on me there. I'd gone for Spatial Rend. I'm thinking maybe I can take another Knockoff. Unfortunately, they went for High Jump Kick. I definitely would have been able to take another knockoff, but I didn't know they were going to go for high jump kick, so there's Palkia down. So I bring in Sigilith, and I immediately go for Cosmic Power, figuring they might go for high jump kick or something. They went for Stone Edge. It is super effective, but my special defense and defense are up. I'm burned from the Flame Orb, so I have a choice whether to use Stored Power, which is what I went for, or I could have, pawned off the burn. But, the Hitmonlee was already on low health. So Aurora's comes in, and I use the Psycho Shift to give him the burn and heal my own. They went for Hyper Voice. That's going to take me down. It's unfortunate for Sigilith, but he did what he needed to do. He killed off one Pokemon and burned another, so there you go. So I send in Mewtwo. This is a Mega Mewtwo X. Now, usually I prefer Mega Mewtwo Y, but this Mega Mewtwo X was super useful. I Mega Evolve, go for the Drain Punch. That's going to take Aurorus down. There was really nothing he was going to be able to do to me. In comes Espeon, probably thinking he can, tank a Psychic hit. Unfortunately, I don't have any Dark-type moves or anything. Earthquake does okay. They actually went for a Calm Mind, so I'm like, alright, if you're setting up, I'm just going to go for another Earthquake. I got a much higher damage roll on that one, and managed to take the Espeon down. Espeon does not have great defenses. Luminion comes in, Drain Punch takes off half his health. I'm already feeling really good about Mewtwo. Clearly the Luminion was here. His utility was only to throw out Toxic and, pretty much eventually doom my Mewtwo. Unfortunately, I don't manage to take the Luminion out with the second Drain Punch. They get off the U-turn, but then they're going to go down to their Life Orb. So, hey, and U-turn did nothing because this Mega Mewtwo X is part Fighting type. So in comes Tapu Bulu. I'm thinking, well, this is probably my doom, but let's see what I can do with a Drain Punch. It's pretty much nothing. And I think he's either going to kill me now, which he, with Horn Leech pretty much takes me down to where Toxic will take me down, or he'll stall me out because I'm Toxic Poison. But Mega Mewtwo X did a great job there. I don't feel bad about it. So I sent in Tentacruel, wondering will they actually stay in. They actually did. Tapu Bulu is double weak to poison. I don't know if they realize that. It's Grass and Fairy. Keldeo comes in and gets an Icy Wind off. That does nothing. It does cut his speed, but the damage is negligible. See, Sludge Bomb does okay. Keldeo is kind of an annoying Pokemon in terms of how to actually kill it. But they decided to start going behind Substitute, so I'm like, alright, he's probably going to have a setup move or something. I just fade the Substitute immediately with Sludge Bomb. Honestly, the Sludge Bomb did only marginally more damage than you take from using Substitute, and I think he realized that, so he went for Hydro Pump. I think he just has nothing to do to this Tentacruel. So I get to poison off with the Sludge Bomb that time, so that's great. And the Grassy Terrain goes away, which is good because it was healing Keldeo. They went for Hidden Power. I don't know which one it was. It's not a whole lot of damage. The next Sludge Bomb is going to take them down to almost no health. Thankfully for them, the leftovers saved them from dying to poison there. But I'm not really worried about it because this Keldeo, it's the last Pokemon, and they've proven that they have nothing that they could do with Tentacruel. So I decided to just go for that disrespectful, scummy victory there and kill it off with Rapid Spin just because I thought it was funny. So, good game, though. So this next battle is versus Bray96. I have a Corsola lead, and they have Primarina, so this is interesting. I'm wondering what exactly is going to go down here. They decide to swap into Sigilith, so I'm thinking, okay, I had gone for Toxic on the Primarina, but I get the Sigilith, but I'm like, okay, he's definitely going to use Psycho Shift, but I sent in Venomoth, my Poison type, so Psycho Shift would fail. They went for Stored Power, but since they had not gone for Cosmic Power, it doesn't really do any damage, and Bug Buzz, it does okay. I mean, that was a critical. I was hoping for more damage, to be honest, from a critical. They swap out to Noivern. I had gone for another Bug Buzz. Of course, Noivern is going to resist it. But I'm thinking I really want to save this Venomoth, from dying because he's really useful. So I decided to swap the Corsola back in, which is a good thing because he went for Flamethrower. Corsola double resisted. Venomoth probably would not have survived that. So, unfortunately, Corsola gets burned, so it's not much it can do. They send Sigilith back in. So I'm thinking, alright, well, I had gone for Toxic again. I think they knew that I was going to go for Toxic, and that's why they brought Sigilith in, because it was already poisoned. But now, at least, they can't pawn the Toxic off on me, because I'm burned. They go for Roost. I decided to try Power Gem, but it really doesn't do the damage I'm looking for, and considering that it has Roost, I'm thinking they're actually, here's the thing, they might stall me out here. Because if you notice, this Sigilith has not lost any health to Toxic, and I realize that it has the Magic Guard ability. I think that's what it's called, Magic Guard, which basically ignores the effects of like Toxic or Leech Seed or burn, the health loss effect. So that just kind of sucks. So they're setting up Cosmic Powers and using Roost. I'm trying Power Gem. It is super effective, but it's not the damage I'm looking for. So I realized that this can't go on because this thing is going to get up really high. But then there's nothing that I really want to swap into. So I realized the only thing I can do is try to wear it down. And just hope that I get a critical, they miss a Roost or something like that. Because, Corsola has Recover, so I can actually recover my health. And Burn doesn't rack up, so there is that. So they're now at 3x defense and special defense. So Power Gem is doing less and less damage. Thankfully they're not raising their attack or anything, but I know that eventually they're going to start using stored power, and it's going to be a major, major problem. Because the more stat boosts you have, the more dangerous that move is. And, like I said, Toxic is absolutely doing nothing here, so this just kind of actually sucks. So let me actually speed this up a little, because this goes on. Oh, okay, there we go. Finally, they go for stored power. I get the Corsola down. I really just wanted a clean swap in. I didn't want to swap in anything. I said in Greninja, can you believe they swapped out? They swapped in Primarina. I had gone for Dark Pulse to change myself to the Dark type. That was the main reason I used it instead of, something else. Primarina takes it pretty well. I went for Gunk Shot. That's going to change me to the Poison type and absolutely decimate Primarina. It is part Fairy type, so, good night. So Garbodor comes in, probably thinking, well, I can resist the Poison type, but I went for Dark Pulse. And, of course, that's going to change me to Dark type. That's the great thing about Greninja's Protean ability. Every move is a stab move. So I actually got a flinch off there from that Dark Pulse, so I decided to just keep trying with that. Garbodor is pretty bulky, but he's taking a lot of damage there. They get the Toxic off on me, which is probably all they were trying to do with Garbodor. But the next Dark Pulse, they're absolutely not going to be able to survive that, so that's Garbodor down. So this battle is, we're on 21 turns here, and there's only 3 Pokemon down. It's actually kind of a slow battle when you think about it. So in comes Noivern. I know my Greninja's not long for this world, so I just decided to stay in. They missed the Hurricane. I had gone for a U-turn, thinking that they would kill me on that turn, but they didn't. So I was like, we'll sack them off. But I went for U-turn just for the hell of it, just in case I survived, and I actually did. I didn't expect it. I sent in Darkrai, they sent in Serperior. I went for Hypnosis. So Serperior is now sleeping. Now they have the Bad Dreams ability, which really sucks for them because when they're sleeping, they're going to lose health. So, yeah. So they're going to continue to lose health due to the Bad Dreams thing. I'm just going to keep Dark Pulsing them. But then they wake up and they get me with Leaf Storm, which does a lot of damage. Leaf Storm, it's just a great move. It doesn't need to be super effective to do a lot of damage. But the next Dark Pulse is going to take the Serperior down. So I still have to worry about Noivern and Sigilif and one other Pokemon, but I haven't even revealed my whole team, and I've only lost Corsola, so I'm actually doing really good. Noivern comes in. It actually has Draco Meteor. That's going to easily take Darkrai out, but at least I get the special attack drop on them. I sent in Duskmane Necrozma. They swapped out probably to preserve their stats. I had gone for Knockoff, so that's fine that you swapped in. That's going to get rid of Golduck's leftovers. They go for Scald, obviously hoping to burn me. Thankfully, they don't get the burn. I went for Automize because I figured that Golduck doesn't have anything really too dangerous to Necrozma, and now I'm going to get off the Searing Sunray Smash because now I'm outspeeding it, and why not? Unfortunately, it doesn't really take him out, but I don't have anything to affect Golduck, and I really don't want to swap out. Fortunately, they do. They send in Sigilith. So I went for Sunseal Strike just to hopefully take it out because I really don't want to, get hit by Toxic there. But I get the knockoff there, and that's going to kill them because I was really worried about them using Psycho Shift. So in comes Noivern. I went for knockoff again on this, got rid of his choice spec. So I'm like, okay, that's probably good. They went for Flamethrower. That definitely would have killed me if they had choice specs. So the it's the third Sunsteel Strike. Well, the first was a Z move. That's going to take him out. So all that's left is Golduck. Not much Necrozma can do to it, but I have three other Pokemon, and they decide to quit on that one. Probably realizing they couldn't win, but I just hate when they do that. Just see it through to the end. Don't rage quit like that. So Will Hunter 14 is the next antagonist here. They start off with Cobalion, and I have Blacephalon. I actually really like Blacephalon, and I want to use him. They actually swapped to Stunfisk, which is going to take the Fire Blast a lot better, and I know Stunfisk is going to just destroy Blacephalon. So I'm like, well, I want to keep him, so I decide to swap over to Delibird. So they actually went for rest, which is interesting because they did that before they were, I mean, they weren't even that damaged. So I went for Ice Punch. That is super effective on Stunfisk. I do get paralyzed, but I'm thinking unless they have Rest Sleep Talk, this is pretty safe. They do have Rest Sleep Talk, and they get off a Discharge, so that really sucks. Delibird goes down. So I'm like, okay, so they have Rest, they have Sleep Talk, and they have Discharge, and one other move. So I sent in Quagsire because I figure at least, Discharge won't bother him. I don't know what their other move is, and I'm really hoping it's not a Grass-type move. So they get Discharge again. That's not going to do anything to Quagsire, obviously. I get off the Scald. It doesn't do quite the damage I was hoping for. It is neutral damage, I think. No, I'm sorry, it's not. It's super effective, but Stunfisk is just bulky. The second Scald is going to kill it. So I sent in Doublade. I went for Earthquake. It does okay, so I'm thinking, well, I mean, you see Doublade and you assume Evilite, but that did more damage than I thought it would, actually. So they're going for Iron Head, and they do outspeed me. Thankfully, they don't get the flinch. I get the second Earthquake off. I know it's only going to take one more. I figure they have nothing to do to me. And it looks like we had a little bit of a speed tie because I outsped them on that round. And I get the Earthquake off, and that's Doublade down. So that's a really dangerous Pokemon out of the way. So in comes Lightbird. I decide to swap to Blacephalon just to take whatever it's going to do. They went for Dark Pulse. That is going to body the Blacephalon, but I had a Focus Sash. So there is that. I'm like, shit. Well, I need to swap him in when something slower than Lightbird is out there. So I swap in Ambipom. They went for Dark Pulse. It does more than half my health. That really sucks. And they flinch me, so it's like, well, GG on that one. Because I don't have Fake Out. Dark Pulse is going to kill the Ambipom. So now I'm thinking, damn, they're coming back, and I'm not doing too well. So I sent in Quagsire because it seems to me that they have a choice item because they're just continually using Dark Pulse. I get the Toxic off on it. I know I'm going to go down on the next turn. Dark Pulse. Actually, I'm thinking I might survive it. They went for Encore. Like, oh, you bastard. You bastard. So I'm locked into Toxic. I can't do anything else. But I decided to just stay in and make him manually take my Quagsire down. Oh, no, actually, no, I did decide to swap. I should have stayed in. So I bring in Toxicroak. It resists Dark Pulse, but they get a critical, so that just sucks. But Toxic is starting to rack up, and they went for Sucker Punch. That's not going to do a whole lot. So you know what's going to happen here. They're going to go down. So Drain Punch. Unfortunately, it was a sliver of health, so I'm not going to get much back there. But Lightbird finally goes down. I really should have kept the Quagsire in. So Cobalion comes back in and goes for Volt Switch. Unfortunately, that doesn't do a lot. I don't think they realize that Toxicroak is not water type, even though it's a frog. So Feraligatr comes and takes the Drain Punch. I get a little bit of health back. I'm wondering what Feraligator's going to do to me, so I decided to go for Gunk Shot. I unfortunately missed there, and they went for Crunch. That is also not effective on Toxicroak, and I live on a tiny bit of health. Then they went for the Aqua Jet because that's a priority move. Unfortunately for them, I had the Dry Skin ability, so that actually heals me a little bit. I get the Gunk Shot off. And I know they're not going to go for Aqua Jet again, so the second Gunk Shot is going to take down Feraligatr. So that was awesome. So Cobalion comes back in and goes for the Volt Switch. This time it's going to do enough damage because he had no health. He had like 5.6% health. Chansey is their last Pokemon, but I still have my Blacephalon, which is faster. I decided to just get a Will-O-Wisp off because I figured they might set up. They actually went for Thunder Wave, and it actually misses, which is crazy. So I'm like, wow, now Blacephalon can get rid of some damage on this. So I go for Fire Blast. I get the burn. It's just well, they actually were burned when they hit me with Will-O-Wisp. They go for Heal Bell, but then they're going to Rage Quit because I think they realize that even if they take out my Blacephalon, I still have Quagsire and one other Pokemon, and they pretty much proved that their Cobalion couldn't do much either to me. So they decided to quit. This next battle is versus Spaken. Sounds vaguely German. So they actually start off with a Cryogonal lead, and I have Gogoat, so this is a terrible matchup for me. They went for Freeze Dry, which is interesting. I think they were expecting me to swap into Water type, because Freeze Dry, despite being an Ice move, is super effective, specifically on Water types. I'd gone for Rock Slide just to see if I could take it out. I couldn't, so I swap in Tapu Fini, figuring they're not going to do Freeze Dry twice. They're going to go for something else. Unfortunately, that might be their only Ice move. So Tapu Fini is going to take a lot of damage from those two Freeze Dries, but I do get off the Moonblast to kill the Cryogonal, so he's gone. So at least there's that, right? So I haven't lost anything. Tapu Fini is way down. Weavile comes in. I know this thing's absolutely going to outspeed me. I decided to just take it. They went for Knockoff. That's going to take me out. I need a clean swap in. if I have any chance of taking out Weavile. It's one of the fastest Pokemon out there. I sent in my Quillfish to get the Intimidate off. They know that's not a good idea for them to stay in, so they sent in Unknown. So I'm thinking this thing definitely has Secret Power, and it's probably Hidden Power, and it's probably Hidden Power Psychic, which is going to kill Quillfish, but I got off 2 rounds of Toxic Spikes, so I didn't really get to use Quillfish much there, but, he got the Toxic Spikes out, times 2. I sent in Go-Go to go for Horn Leech. I know this thing can only have one move, and it's obviously Hidden Power Psychic, and I figure Go-Go can take that, and he's going to get some health back from Horn Leech, so that takes the Unknown down. Because of the way it's spelled, I always want to call it Unknown. So in comes Vivillon. Vivillon is obviously not affected by Toxic Spikes. I sent in Turtonator. Now, Turtonator is just a really great Pokemon. I figured they would go for Bug-type moves. That's why I swapped in Turtonator. They went for Sleep Powder. I'm not, all that concerned with being asleep, because Turtonator is just a wall. I know they're going to set up, but I know that if I wake up and can get off one fire move, this Vivillon is not going to be a problem for me. So they're just spamming Quiver Dance at this point. I finally wake up. Well, I say finally, but it didn't take that long. I had gone for Dragon Tail. I want to swap them out. And in comes Greninja. It gets Toxic Poison. That's why I wanted to use Dragon Tail. I'm just going to try and use Dragon Tail to Toxic them. But then Greninja starts setting up Toxic Spikes too, so got to swap him out. Unfortunately, Among Us comes in, and obviously that's going to pick up the spike. So, going for Fire Blast. That's not quite going to take out the Among Us. They went for Spore. They really want my Turtonator to be sleeping. But once again, I'm not super concerned with it. So they swap back to Vivillon. I know they're just going to start Quiver Dancing again. So we're pretty much back at square one here. But I'm still not worried about it, because look, my Turtonator still has like 90% of his health, so I'm not worried about it. I wake up real fast, get off the Fire Blast. Vivillon's not going to be able to take that, and Vivillon goes down. And then they timed out on me, so that just kind of sucks. I hate when people time out, because it does take a full 2.5 minutes for them to time out. It takes forever, So this next battle is versus Super Gato Range. I don't know. Weird names on here. So they have a Vileplume lead. I have a Lunatone lead. So I'm thinking this is a terrible matchup, but let's see what I can do, because I have Psychic, and that does a lot of damage. They went for Giga Drain. It does not as good damage, but they get a lot of health back, and I really don't want that to happen. But then they swapped to Crawdaunt, even though they had the advantage there. Obviously, Crawdaunt is Dark type. It's going to take the Psychic. I went for Power Gem. I get a critical. That's just great, because it absolutely wasn't super effective, but it was a critical. They're starting to set up Swords Dance, but they're low enough health that the second Power Gem is going to take down the Crawdaunt. So in comes Blastoise. At this point, I know what's going to happen. So I sent in Artillery. They Mega Evolve. I'm thinking Artillery has a better chance of taking something like Hydro Pump or Scald, and it was Hydro Pump. Then they go for Aura Sphere, which never misses. I went for Energy Ball. It's a lot of damage, but here's the thing. I know I'm going to get outsped. I know they're going to use Aura Sphere. Might as well let it happen, so I can get a clean swap in, because I didn't have anything on my team that wants to swap in Aura Sphere, especially like Terrakion here. So Terrakion here has Close Combat and takes down the Blastoise. Now this is really cool, because what I kept doing in this battle is bringing in Terrakion to finish off a Pokemon with Close Combat, and then swapping him to get my stats back. So I swap over to Clefable. I almost wanted to call him Clefable, because I think that's funny. Like I said, I really don't like Mr. Mime. He's just an annoying Pokemon to go around if you don't have like a Dark type move or something like that. I'm just setting up here with Calm Minds, thinking maybe I can just very badly live whatever it is that Mr. Mime is going to do to me. Unfortunately, I was incorrect. The Dazzling Gleam takes him down. So I sent in Moltres. They went for Dazzling Gleam again. It's not going to do much. I went for Fire Blast, just to get the stab damage off. It's half health, but they get some back with leftovers, so I know that unless I get a critical or a high damage roll, I'm not going to take this thing out. Then they went for Shadow Ball. I think they were expecting a swap. The Fire Blast is not going to be that high damage roll or that critical that I was really looking for. And I'm thinking, well, here comes Shadow Ball, right? And I didn't have a normal type to swap into, so Moltres goes down. This Mr. Mime is really putting in work, and I don't like him. So I sent in Terrakion to finish him off. Close Combat is not very effective on Mr. Mime, but it had low enough health that I was able to do that, and Gibbs is coming over to visit. So Vileplume comes in. Obviously, I have to switch. I bring in Weezing, so I'm thinking, I don't know what they're going to do. I thought maybe Giga Drain. I can at least resist that because it is Poison type. So luckily, I guessed correctly on that. And they decide to swap over to Curum. So I'm thinking, well, what can Curum have that's going to hurt Wheezing? I have Fire Blast. It is neutral damage. They actually started looking up the weaknesses of Wheezing. In this game, you can type !weak and the name of a Pokemon, and it'll tell you what they're weak to. So they looked up, what is Wheezing weak to? It's a single type poison. Obviously, it's weak to Psychic and Ground, but it has a Levitate ability, so it's really only weak to Ground. So he's going to take me down with Ice Beam there. I just thought that was really interesting that he was not the first time. So Terrakion comes in just to finish him off with a close combat, because this is part Ice type. I get the special defense and defense drop, but you know what's going to happen. I only have one other Pokemon, and it's Lunatone, and they sent in Mightyena. I'm like, oh, they actually looked up weakness Terrakion, and they said, it's weak to Fairy Fighting, Grass, Ground, Psychic, Steel, and Water. After I did that, I wrote in the chat, Mightyena, weak to fighting. So I swap out to Lunatone, and they went for Sleep Powder. So I'm like, okay, that's fine, I guess. I decided to stay in because I know I can take it out with Terrakion, but I need a clean swap. They went for Giga Drain. Terrakion is weak to Grass. Like I mentioned, Fairy Fighting, Grass, Ground, Psychic, Steel, and Water will kill it. But I think I can take a Giga Drain, so I decided to set up with Swords Dance. I take the Giga Drain. It's all going to come down to, can I one-hit kill this Vileplume? I went for Stone Edge. It has a high critical rate. It does 92.5% health, so he's going to get me with Giga Drain, and that is game. But I think, it all came down to that last one. It was worth a shot to see if a Swords Dance boosted Stone Edge could take him out. I knew it wasn't going to take him out without Swords Dance boost, unless I was able to get a critical. And Stone Edge does have a high critical rate. It also has a high miss rate. So I was like, this is a Hail Mary. And unfortunately, it wasn't enough. There was really no way I can win. The Vileplume, which was their starter there, couldn't get around it. So this next battle is versus Sycamore Shiba. I sent out Crocodile, and they sent out Hitmonchan. I'm thinking, terrible matchup, absolutely have to swap. I decide to bring in Medicham, because I'm like, here comes a fighting type move, here comes Drain Punch or something. They're actually setting up with Bulk Up, which actually works out for me, because I'm like, I can hit him with a Psychic type move. They know what's up. I Mega Evolve, and I went for Zen Headbutt, but they had swapped into Alolan Form Raticate, which is, of course, Dark type. They went for Sucker Punch. Thankfully, it didn't hit. High Jump Kick is going to take them out. I think they knew, well, here comes a fighting type move. Let's get something off with Sucker Punch. So they sent in Diancie. I'm thinking, Diancie's weak to fighting. What's going on? But they hit me with the Moonblast. I was really hoping to outspeed it, but it wasn't Mega, so that didn't happen. So I sent in Garbodor, and unfortunately, they went for Psyshock right away, but I went for Gunk Shot. I missed! That definitely would have done a lot of damage. It might have even been a one-hit kill. Gunk Shot is 120 base power. It's a stab move from Garbodor, and Diancie's obviously a fairy type. So I sent in Crocodile, hoping they can't kill me. They would Moonblast kill me. I'm having a real hard time with this Mega Diancie. So I sent in Sarina. They went for Hidden Power. I'm guessing Hidden Power Ice or something. The Power Whip is able to finally take that thing down. I'm like, oh, damn that thing. So in comes Hitmonchan. It's actually dead even now. I had a great start, but now it's dead even thanks to that frickin' Mega Diancie. So Hitmonchan's actually going to do really good damage with Fire Punch there, even though it's not super effective. But Psyshock's going to absolutely body him. Even if it wasn't super effective with Life Orb, and the stab, that's just that hurts, So Feraligatr comes out. I get off a Moonblast. They were spamming Moonblast, and I had nothing to really. I didn't have a Steel type, and now I start spamming Moonblast. They went for Aqua Jet there with Feraligatr. Unfortunately, that does not work in Psychic terrain. So that's it for that. So Whiscash comes out. This thing has a lot of hit points, but let me just try Moonblast. I take off more than half his health. I'm about to go down here. Anyway, they get me with the Earthquake, and I can see that they have a Life Orb, so I'm thinking, okay. Well, Whiscash is a Pokemon that's actually pretty easy to get around if you have a Grass type. I bring in Serena, go for the Power Whip, and I miss! Can you believe it? Thankfully, Earthquake doesn't do a lot, so I'm like, I have to absolutely hit this thing with Power Whip. What is going to hit is 85% accuracy. It's got to hit eventually. Power Whip finally hits, takes down the Whiscash. It is double weak to Grass. I'm surprised they didn't try to swap, but I'm wondering, what is their last Pokemon? It turns out it's Crocodile. I had a Crocodile, now they have a Crocodile. So they go for knockoff. That's absolutely going to body me. I decided to stay in instead of swapping just to see what it would do to me. So in comes Noivern. So I went for U-turn just because it's super effective and I can swap to Garbodor and then maybe swap back and do U-turn and kind of do that thing. Or maybe he'll kill me and then I'll just do another U-turn. He went for Stealth Rocks there, so I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Then he went for Earthquake. I knew he was going to outspeed me, but he obviously has a Life Orb, and I know I'm going to outspeed him with Noivern, and U-turn is going to be bop boop beep, he's done. So unless some craziness happens where I miss, U-turn doesn't really miss unless you have, Sand Attack or something that's going to lower your accuracy. So that's going to be game there. So this last battle is versus Georgiamados? I don't know. So I start off with Dunsparce. This is not the mighty Dunsparce. This is just normal Dunsparce. They sent out Toxapex, which is incredibly annoying. I went for Coil just to boost my stats. They went for Scald. I didn't get hit really hard there, and thankfully I didn't get burned. They went for Baneful Bunker, which is terrible because I had gone for Headbutt, so not only is that going to protect them from all damage, but it's going to poison me, so that just really sucks. So I went for another Headbutt. It does pretty good damage, but I'm thinking they're just going to alternate between attacking with Scald, which does a lot better damage that time, and using Baneful Bunker. At least Baneful Bunker can't poison me a second time, but I went for Rock Slide just because at least the fact that Gunny, could you stop? At least it doesn't make contact. Of course, they went for Baneful Bunker there. I went for Body Slam there because it was a little bit more damage than Rock Slide would have done. It is Stab, and I do actually get the Paralyze off. I go down to Poison. They use Recover, but at the very least, I did get it paralyzed. So, Dunsparce did do something. So I bring in Hydreigon. They went for Baneful Bunker. I kind of figured that they would. So I went for Dark Pulse just because it doesn't make contact. So I don't have to worry about that. And I also wanted to see if I was going to outspeed them. So they went for Dragon Pulse. Or rather, I went for Dragon Pulse. I went for Dragon Pulse. So I now know that I am outspeeding them. They had gone for Haze. That's going to eliminate their stat changes. And then they're going to switch out to Clefable. So I'm kind of wondering why they bothered with Haze. They could have just swapped out instead. I didn't have any stat boost, so I went for Dark Pulse. It obviously doesn't do much against Clefable. I went for Flash Cannon. It doesn't take it out. I know I'm going to go down to like Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast. It turns out to be Moonblast. I was really hoping Flash Cannon would do its job there, but unfortunately it wasn't a stab move, so I couldn't, really hope too much. So I sent in Passimian, and I went for Iron Head, because I figured they're not going to know that he has Iron Head until I do it, and that's definitely going to take Clefable out. Toxapex comes back out, and I decide to swap over to Camerupt. Now, this is a Mega Camerupt, and you're thinking, well, you're just going to go down a Scald, right? And I'm thinking, yes, I'm going to go down a Scald, but I really just want to get one hit off, So I Mega Evolve, hoping that I can outspeed it. Toxapex is very, very slow. They went for Baneful Bunker. I had gone for Earth Power, so they pretty much scattered me out. So I'm like, okay, here it comes. We're going to find out whether or not I can outspeed this Toxapex. It is paralyzed. It is slow. I get the Earth Power off, and Toxapex finally goes down. I know we're only on 13 turns, but that thing, it seems like it's been dogging me this whole video. So they sent out Marowak. I know there's an Earth-type move coming. I sent in Togekiss, but I was wrong. They went for Knockoff, knocked off my leftovers. Now here comes all the swapping. They figure here comes an Electric-type move, right? Or something. I don't know what they were thinking, actually. They swapped to Ampharos. I went for Air Slash. I'm thinking, here comes an Electric-type move. I swapped to Camerupt, but obviously it's not affected by Electric-type moves. They swapped to Marowak. I'm thinking, well, Marowak's going to outspeed me. But let's see what happens. I actually outspeed the Marowak and get the Earth Power off. Then they swapped into it. I'm sorry. Then I swap over to Togekiss. They went for Knockoff. It's not going to do as much damage the second time around. Then they swapped to Ampharos because I had gone for Air Slash. It seems like we're doing this all over again. So I swapped to Camerupt. I'm kind of wondering, are they going to go for something different? No, they still went for the Thunderbolt, so the Camerupt is obviously going to negate that. This time they send in Emboar. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting because that's weak to Earth Power too. It takes it very, very badly. They went for Super Power. That's finally going to take my Camerupt down. So now they're probably thinking that's a huge triumph there. Because now I can't swap into that when the Ampharos comes out. So Togekiss comes in and kills the Emboar with Air Slash. So I'm thinking, all right, we have two Pokemon left and then one that neither of us has seen. They sent in Ampharos. I swapped my last Pokemon into Meowetta. This turns out to be a Mega Ampharos. I don't know why they didn't Mega Evolve it before. They totally could have. They went for Thunderbolt. Of course, it's not going to do much against Meowetta. I went for Return. It's not a lot of damage, but this thing's not long for this world. They go for Agility. Ampharos is pretty slow. but now it's obviously faster than me. Dragon Pulse also doesn't do a lot of damage, and the next return, yeah, it seems to actually do less damage, so I'm like, okay. They go for Thunderbolt. Obviously, we're just chipping away at each other, but the third return is going to be enough to take down Ampharos, the Mega Ampharos. So in comes Rotom Wash is their last Pokemon. I'm like, okay, let's see what he does. Hydro Pump doesn't do a lot. Meloetta is so bulky. I went for Knockoff. That's going to get rid of his Choice Scarf. So I'm thinking I might actually be able to live another Hydro Pump. I went for Relic Song. It's going to do some damage and put them to sleep. Change my form, which is really it's just a cosmetic thing. And I went for Return to take out the Rotom Wash. So I'm like, wow, I can't believe that worked so well. I might actually do it again. So in comes the last Pokemon, which is Marowak. I went for Return. I actually decided not to do Relic Song the second time around, and Return is going to body him, and that is game. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you soon with more great content.